Nasir Bakhta was a poor potter living in a small village in the kingdom of Baharistan. Every day, he worked diligently, molding clay into pottery and taking them to the city to sell. Nasir's life was full of hardship, but he always upheld honesty and relentless dedication to his craft. Near his village was a dense forest, home to a ferocious lion that often attacked villagers and livestock. Though the villagers made several attempts to capture it, the lion always escaped. Gradually, fear spread throughout the village, and no one dared go out at night. Yet, Nasir Bakhta continued his daily routine, unfazed by the fear around him. He tirelessly dug clay, shaped pots, dried them under the sun, and fired them in the kiln as usual. These tasks became part of his rhythm, the only way he could make a living. One evening, after a long, exhausting day in the city, Nasir returned home. Normally, he would tie his donkey securely in the stable, but that night, too tired, he simply tied it to a tree in the yard and went to bed. That same night, a violent storm swept through the nearby forest. Winds uprooted ancient trees, and thunder and heavy rain created a terrifying scene. The lion, caught hunting in the storm, panicked and sought shelter. It found an abandoned house near the village and crept inside to hide. Before long, it had fallen asleep in a corner of the house. In the middle of the night, the heavy rain woke Nasir. Worried that his donkey might be drenched, he rushed outside to check. When he arrived, he was shocked to find the donkey missing, with only a broken chain remaining. Alarmed, he decided to search for it. After an hour of wandering through the rain, he reached the abandoned house. At that moment, a flash of lightning lit up the place, and he saw a large shape sleeping near the door. Overjoyed, thinking it was his donkey, he shouted and struck the animal to scold it. But as the light shone clearer, Nasir realized with horror, it wasn't his donkey. It was the ferocious lion. Yet in that fateful moment, the lion docilely followed him home without resistance. What seemed like a foolish mistake turned out to be a turning point that would change Nasir's life forever. The next morning, soft sunlight filtered through the trees, washing away the remnants of the storm. Villagers stepped outside, relieved after the terrifying night. But as they passed Nasir Bakhta's house, they froze in disbelief. There, tied tightly to a tree in Nasir's yard, was the infamous lion of the forest. No one dared approach, but all eyes turned to Nasir. Someone cried, "Heavens, that's the lion that's been killing our livestock and terrorizing us." News spread like wildfire. People flocked to Nasir's home, astonished and admiring. Everyone believed he was incredibly brave to tame the beast single-handedly. While others hailed him as a hero, Nasir was still confused. Looking closely at the donkey he had brought home, he stood stunned. It wasn't the familiar animal that hauled his pots. It was a real lion. Nasir stammered, "I just brought my donkey home." But no matter how much he explained, no one believed it was a simple mistake. To the villagers, Nasir Bakhta, the poor potter, had become a symbol of courage and legend. Sometimes, the truth is simple, even laughable, but others' belief in you can turn an accident into a miracle and an ordinary man into a legend. Nasir never intended to become a hero, but sometimes, all it takes is one moment to change everything. While the village buzzed with talk of Nasir Bakhta's lion capture, the story reached the royal palace. King Daragul, troubled by threats from the neighboring kingdom of Dagestan, called an urgent council. Though Baharistan's army was brave, they were vastly outnumbered. The king needed a leader, someone bold, someone who could inspire the troops. As ministers debated, one of them, General Fate Jang, stood up and declared, "I believe the person we need is none other than Nasir Bakhta, the man who captured a lion with his bare hands. Such a man is fit to lead." The king was deeply impressed. A messenger was immediately dispatched to summon Nasir to the palace. When Nasir heard he was being appointed commander of the army, he could hardly believe it. "They must be mistaken. I'm just a potter. What do I know of war?" he muttered. But a royal summons cannot be refused, and so, reluctantly, he packed for the capital. Before the king, Nasir was warmly received and informed he would take charge the next day. On his way home, he mumbled, "All because of that donkey. No lion. Now I'm a general." Looking at the lion tied in his yard, he sighed, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't confused me, I'd still be spinning clay." But his wife smiled gently and said, "Don't curse your fate. Perhaps this is a gift from God. Maybe it's the start of something better." Nasir said nothing, But deep down, he felt something had indeed changed. A new chapter of his life was about to begin, unexpected, strange, and full of challenges. The next morning, Nasir and his wife entered the palace, hearts full of uncertainty. Before them stood thousands of armored soldiers in perfect formation, awaiting orders from their new commander. A potter who once shaped clay never wielded a sword. King Dargul himself handed him the staff of command, officially naming him the general of Baharistan's army. Nasir, bewildered, couldn't back down as thunderous applause erupted. He remembered his wife's words, "Believe in yourself and trust that God has a reason for everything." Standing before the army, he took a deep breath. He had no military training, no battle strategy, but he had honesty, intuition, and an unshakable belief. If given a chance, he must live up to it. A few days later, scouts reported the enemy was approaching. Nasir knew brute force alone wouldn't win. Using keen observation and wit, he devised a bold and unusual plan. That night, he gathered every donkey, horse, and ox from nearby villages. As darkness fell, he had torches tied to the animals' backs and released them toward the enemy camp. From afar, hundreds of flaming lights rushed toward them like a massive army. The chaotic blaze spooked the enemy, who believed they were under massive attack. In panic, they fled, leaving behind weapons and supplies. Nasir then spread a rumor: Baharistan soldiers train daily by capturing lions barehanded. The story reached King Ranguja, the enemy's leader. When he learned the Baharistan commander had tamed a lion, he was terrified and quickly sought peace negotiations. Not a single drop of blood was shed. The war ended through intelligence and courage. Nasir Bakhta, the humble potter, defeated the enemy with cleverness and an indomitable spirit. The tale of Nasir Bakhta is not only filled with humor and surprise, but also carries a deep life lesson. From a poor potter, he became a military commander due to what seemed like a disastrous mistake. But his calmness, honesty, and belief in himself helped him turn adversity into opportunity. This story reminds us that success doesn't always come from perfect preparation. Sometimes it's how we respond to the unexpected that changes our destiny. It shows us that ordinary people can do extraordinary things if they have courage, creativity, and a heart that never stops believing in good.